Hey, my name's James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about the Renters' Rights Bill. There was an amendment made on the Renters' Rights Bill this week at the report stage, which has big implications on landlords. Unfortunately, it's not good. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what the new council rights are with your property if you're a landlord. And I think this is important to understand if you're a tenant, if you're a landlord, or even if you just own a property of some sort. I think it's important to know what's going on in the market. Now, if you're new around here and you haven't done already, do make sure you subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. We're on the way to 45,000 subscribers. And by subscribing, you'll get all the latest updates on the Renters' Rights Bill, the leasehold reform, house prices, interest rates, and much, much more. And I'd like to ask you one quick favour, and let's get some more views on this video. How do we do that? Simple. Smash like, tick or like, do something to the like button. That helps with the YouTube algorithm, and that's really helped the channel grow. So, Renters' Rights Bill. It's not been great. Well, there's some wins and there's some losses in there. We had talk about pet insurance being allowed. Then we had amendments proposed which talk about landlords being able to have bigger deposits for people that have pets, which was seen as a win. We had discussions about reducing the amount that landlords get fined if they have a breach on their property, and the fines are crazy. They're going up from 30,000 maximum to 40,000. The proposal was that we could bring that down to 7,000. That's unlikely to happen. And the Renters' Rights Bill, the biggest problem for landlords and the fear that most landlords have is all around Section 21 and the right to get your property back through a no-fault eviction. That's going to get abolished. Very likely that that will happen. We haven't had much discussion on that. So what have we had discussion on this week? Well, this one's quite a shocker, and it's about the council's right to entry on your property. Now, if you're a landlord, you might know this. If you want to view your property or have a look at the property, you have to give the tenant at least 24 hours notice. You can't turn up, and that's fair enough, because you do get some creepy landlords. I've heard crazy stories of landlords just turning up at people's properties and asking to do inspections. That's ridiculous that people would do that. But landlords need to make sure that they go through the right channels and they give details on when they are looking to inspect, and that they get permission based off the back of that. That is something that's not changing. But what is changing is the council doesn't have to give you, the landlord, any access or any notice even to look at your property. And so this is an amendment that's been proposed that the council can make immediate inspections if they get a complaint. Now, this is all due to the fact that the councils have given feedback to the MPs and Parliament, and they're basically saying that sometimes it's a bit of a cat and mouse game. So, for example, a tenant will say there's a problem with X or Y. The landlord will quickly go in, fix it immediately, and then the council turn up and there isn't a problem. And so it looks like the landlord has not caused a problem, but they might have sneakily fixed it. And that is where you've got the problem here. Now, it's good that the landlord obviously fixes what was wrong in that scenario, and I think that that's important. But what they're saying is some are doing it to get round problems that they've had, and they had no intention of fixing the property until the council said they're going to visit. So what is proposed now, and it is an amendment, and I think that this is likely to stay in there, is that the council can come unannounced and visit the property, do an inspection, and that means that landlords would not be able to run around and fix something that they've ignored for a while. And that could cause, I think, more landlords, when they know about this, to consider leaving. A lot of these amendments to the Renters' Rights Bill are not landlord friendly. They're very anti-landlord, and they just pile on. And every time you hear new ones, there's a little sector of landlords that say, you know what, that's the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Some landlords wouldn't want pets, and right now, the new proposals in the Renters' Rights Bill are that you've got to consider pets. And the fact was that the government was saying a couple of weeks ago that you could ask the tenant to get pet insurance. And that makes sense. And that is a fair solution. It's also a good solution for the tenants, because more landlords, if you can say, look, if you have a pet, I'll consider it, but you've got to even have insurance. I think more landlords would have pets. Here's the problem with the pet thing now. You get 5 applications in for your property, and one of them has a pet. You don't then tell them you're turning them down because of the pet. You just say someone else was more suitable for the property. And so the tenant doesn't even know that they're getting rejected. And I think the available properties, I think this is going to backfire, the available properties for people with pets, compared to what it is today, I believe will shrink. Because while it might not be, they might not be able to be biased against you in adverts and stuff like that, I think they just won't vocalize it, and you won't know that that was the reason you didn't get that property, and that is going to cause problems for people. Now, that's one reason you'll get less landlords and some people will quit. The other one that we had this week was that the fact that fines for landlords at the moment for a first offence start at £5,000, for a major offence go up to £30,000, and they're saying they're increasing those due to inflation to £7,000 for a first breach and £40,000 for a major breach or repeated offences. They're huge numbers, and lots of landlords will read those headline numbers. That will be in all the press once this finally goes through, and they'll quit. They'll say, look, I could get fined 40 grand, and they might have been a perfect landlord for years, and then they decide to suddenly quit due to the fact that they could potentially get fined this huge amount of money. And I think that these amendments continuously racking up, and you could get more by the end of it, will spook some landlords and make them quit. So this amendment is all about the fact that the council can just turn up with no prior notice. I'm sure they would speak with the tenant prior, but they can just turn up and look at the property. I think that's going to worry a few landlords, that they could rectify things prior, but they're not going to be able to do that now. And ultimately, think about this. If a council member can turn up unannounced, more landlords are going to get these big fines. And that is going to get in the media, and that's going to backfire, I think, on the government by shrinking the private rental market. Right now, the rental market is the same size as it was in 2016. That means it's gone backwards and shrunk. The population has grown substantially, and it's going to continue to grow. And that's a problem. And I think if you keep pushing people out of this market, you're not going to build enough properties to make it worthwhile for other companies to do it. It's just going to mean rents are going to go crazy and through the roof. What do you think about this and the council getting access to your property? Would you quit as a landlord because of this? Let me know in the comments if you would. If you're watching this and you've got a mortgage, probably for your own home or buy-to-lets, we made a new ebook which I want to let you guys know about. It's in the description below. It's free, and it basically helps you get the best mortgage deal in this market. It's not just talking about getting the best rates. It's talking about how to get prepared and lots of other little secrets in there. So do grab a copy of that down below while you're here. Do also check out all the other content on the channel, including this video right here.